Greetings, writers. It's Mr. Hebda from the Lackawanna College Writing Center, and in this episode, we're going to discuss paraphrasing. What in the world is paraphrasing anyway? Well, paraphrasing is when we want to repeat the same information from the source, but we do so by putting it into our own words. We put the words and ideas of the source into our own words. Now, the big question here is, what does it mean to put something in our own words? So when it comes to paraphrasing, putting something in our own words is a very specific meaning. We don't want to use the same words and phrases from the source. Instead, we need to get alternative words that have the same meanings. So these are synonyms, and we have to find as many of them as possible to replace the source material. And we can use the thesaurus to help us find synonyms. However, paraphrasing is about more than just words. It's also about the ideas of the source. In particular, we need to look at the order of ideas in the source, because if we repeat the same order of ideas, we're actually taking the thought process of the author and claiming it to be our own. Technically, that's plagiarism because we're stealing someone else's ideas. And so to avoid plagiarism and paraphrase properly, we need to make sure that we mix up both the word choice with synonyms and the order of ideas. Now, that sounds tough, and it is. But these paraphrasing strategies will help make it easier. You can try explaining the idea out loud to yourself or someone else. Or you can put the paraphrase into words by writing it while looking away from the source. Then you can compare the two to test how well you mixed it up. Or we can actually build our paraphrase directly word for word from the source. I'm going to show you an example of that right now. So let's say that we need to build a paraphrase for this quote from an academic source. When much of the mainstream Western media turns to Africa, it far too often fixates on war and conflict, on famine, or on Africa's amazing wildlife, instead of on its creative, resourceful, and brilliant people. So we can start here by brainstorming a list of synonyms. And here I actually started building one together here. So while I was reading through the quote, I heard words like media, which made me think of television and news outlets. I also heard a word like often is like frequently, right? I'm not going to read through my whole list of synonyms here at the bottom, but I challenge you to pause the video and see if you can match up my synonym examples with the word that they're trying to replace from the quote. All right, sometimes we won't be able to get a good word-for-word match. We might have to take, say, one word from the source, like Western here. We might have to expand that into multiple words, like industrialized countries. Or it might go the other way around, and we might have a whole phrase from the source, like far too often, and we might be able to shorten that phrase, like here I went from 3 words to 2, with sadly frequently. All right, let's put everything we've learned together with our example. Here is the quote, and notice that I put the quote in purple at the beginning, green in the middle, and red at the end. And that's going to help us as we compare with our paraphrase example. Rather than focus on African people's ingenuity, innovation, and imagination, sadly, the media of modern industrialized countries usually ruminates on the continent's natural wonders or political turmoil. So notice how in that paraphrase that I just read, the red part that's at the end of the quote becomes the beginning of the paraphrase. The purple part that's the beginning of the quote becomes the middle of the paraphrase, and the green part that's in the middle of the quote becomes the end of the paraphrase. That's what I mean when I mention mixing up the different ideas, the order of ideas in the source. Furthermore, take a look at how the paraphrase doesn't use quotation marks like the quote, and that's because we put it in our own words and we're not using the exact words of the source. However, it is important to pay attention to what we put at the end here in both. We always need an in-text citation, whether we're quoting or paraphrasing, because this information is coming from someone else. It's not our own. So we need to give credit where credit is due to avoid plagiarism. Speaking of citing our sources, here are some sources that helped me build this video. Feel free to check out the Lackawanna College Writing Center YouTube channel for even more helpful videos, and keep on writing, everyone. Mr. Hebda out.